Welcome to Everything Casual, bringing you original football casual videos from the golden era of the 80s and 90s, right up to current day. Football away day stories and historic clashes between football firms. Subscribe so you don't miss out. We upload videos every week. I love making videos about football firms and terrace legends. But every now and again, I like to tell stories about my own experiences and football away days. What I say is the truth. I have come unstuck a few times one-to-one. My firm have also suffered a few losses, but not everyone likes me talking about that. Plus, I have a career in a professional field and have a mortgage to pay. So for those reasons, I choose to stay anonymous. My closest football mates are all on here, and I have their blessing to tell some of my stories. My stories are called the Birds, Booze and Banter series, and are all crazy away day stories. You can check them out on my YouTube channel. Everton away. I am going way back on this one. It was one of my first away games with the firm. I was only 16 years old, and at this time my dad was still one of the main lads of the group. There was bad feeling with Everton too, but their firm, the County Road Cutters, had turned up on our patch the year before and smashed one of our pubs up, and one of our lads got glassed. They are a nasty bunch, but this would be a revenge mission. We had to take a big number of faces there, and we had to make a statement. Our reputation was on the line. The thing I liked about this era is mostly no weapons were used in rows, unless it kicked off in a pub. Then lads would grab chairs, bottles, sometimes pint glasses. But if anything happened outside the ground, on wasteland or an industrial estate, it was just fists on fists. I like that. I really detest all the knife crime happening now. I feel strongly against it, and the young lads now carrying knives are cowards, unable to have it out with their fists. The reason I am saying this is because the County Road Cutters had a reputation for using weapons back then, in particular blades. Now, I don't know if this was true. I was just a 16-year-old kid listening to pissed up men talking in a pub, so I can't confirm the rumour. But what I do know for sure is one of our lads was glassed by one of their boys the year before. I was actually there and saw it personally, because of what I had witnessed, and my age, and the fact I hadn't had many away games under my belt. I was nervous about going to Everton. Plus, I didn't want to embarrass my dad in front of his mates if it kicked off, and I just froze on the spot. Even worse, what if I bottled it and ran off? When I was at home one of the nights, I heard my mum and dad arguing about me going to the game. My mum was shouting at him that he shouldn't be taking me with him, and saying that she didn't want me to turn out like him. And if anything happened to me, then it would be on my dad's hands, etc. I pretended I hadn't heard the argument, and I never mentioned it to my mum or dad. Funnily enough, I had been to Liverpool a few months before. My dad took me to a place called Bootle, for what he said was a business deal. We drove up there. I stayed in the car whilst my dad knocked on the door. 2 guys answered. My dad went inside for about 20 minutes, then came out with a black sports hold-all bag with red trims on the side. The brand was called Head. My dad put the bag in the boot of the car and we drove home. I never asked my dad what was in the bag. It was none of my business. And if I dared ask my dad, he himself would have told me. It was none of my business. But I remember the bag itself, as I used it to take on my first ever lads holiday to Ibiza that year, along with my suitcase. To hear my parents argue about going to the Everton game just made me more nervous. Back then, I didn't know that most of the time firms don't get to fight for numerous reasons. Even if they do, they are very short-lived fights. I have only been involved in fights that have lasted more than 7 to 10 minutes a few times. The really are mostly over in just a few short minutes. The police always seem to land very quickly and break it up quickly no matter where you are, especially in this era now. But other firms have had different experiences. No one encounter is the same, it's different for everyone. I can only speak honestly about encounters I have been involved with. The talk in the pub was for us to attack one of their pubs early in the morning because they wouldn't be expecting it and thought we wouldn't have the bottle to do it. Another rumour was that we were going to meet them in Stanley Park. But again, I would hear all this talk every single week, and it very rarely happened. And back then as a young kid I was kind of hoping it was just all talk. On the morning of the game I travelled with my dad and two of the lads in the car. My dad said to me that he had to do some more business with the same guys from before, but this time we had to meet them in a place called Highton. Then we were to meet up with the rest of the lads in a pub about a mile away from Goodison Park. In the car, my dad had words with me. He went over what seemed to be the code of being a casual. No running, no hitting innocent shirts, all that kind of thing. This was the first time he had ever told me any of this. I felt important. But he also added that he wanted me to sit this battle with Everton out. Not get involved. He didn't even want me to go to the pub with them before the game. He wanted me to go straight to the game early on with some of the shirts. I wasn't sure how I was feeling about that. Maybe they did all still see me as a kid. Maybe my mum had warned him and he had backed down. Normally, he would keep me with him and tell me not to tell my mum about it. So this was a weird one, unless he knew something serious was about to go down. So I made my way to the game with all the civilians and met up with my mates that wasn't involved with our firm. As we were walking to the ground, we were hearing stories that our crew had been attacked as soon as they set foot out of Lime Street Station. I was also hearing that Everton have huge numbers at home, and they turn over pretty much every crew that turns up to Goodison. My dad never told me any of this in the car. The weirdest thing that I heard amongst all our fans was that sometimes the Everton crew and Liverpool crews team up to take down the biggest and best firms. That wouldn't be happening to us today, surely. We are a relatively small firm. Yes, there was bad blood between us because of the previous encounter, but we wasn't big enough fish for a team up to take us on. I reckon we had 35 good lads at Everton, and a further 25 or so hangers-on. If all the gossip I had heard amongst our shirts was true, then we would be taking a heavy defeat. And I was right. It was one of our worst defeats in my time. Probably not the worst. That came courtesy of the Birmingham Zulus, which I will tell you all about in an upcoming story. But I would say this was top 3. People ask in the comments section why I stay anonymous, or why don't I name my crew. Well, first and foremost, I have seen a lot of things, nasty things, criminal things. I have also played my part in these things, along with people I regard as my brothers. I try not to even name pubs. I will name pubs that I go to away to, and nothing has happened. But I will not name pubs that have been smashed up or incidents that have happened in pubs, because it could land friends or even rivals in serious trouble with the old bill. People could get nicked and lose everything. I have seen it happen. I had a friend, he had just inherited his dad's scaffolding business. The family turned over big money. His dad sadly passed away and my friend was running it all. He went to a boxing match. There was a big clash, massive brawl. And he ended up getting sent down and he lost everything. I know other lads that have been identified in stupid Facebook videos, throwing punches at the game, been identified by their employer and then sacked. I have to keep anonymous and I cannot name casuals by name. Plus, there would be repercussions for me work-wise too, so I have to be careful. Anyway, back to the story. In those days, you could pretty much stand where you wanted to in football grounds. I knew roughly where my dad and the lads would be standing. The game had just kicked off, couldn't see my dad anywhere. No problem, the lads would almost always get to games late. Always after kick-off, always on patrol outside the ground, so I wasn't panicking. I looked up the clock. It was 3:20. Still nothing. 3:35, about 18 of our lads pushed through the crowd and joined us in the away end. No sign of my dad. Some of the lads had been nicked. Some had been taken to hospital. Some ran off and broke away from our crew and made their way to the ground trying to blend in with shirts. My dad had been taken to hospital. He had taken a kicking, but the lads assured me he would be okay. The other guy who travelled in the car with us had his Burberry coat taken off him, forcibly, and had a knife pulled to his throat. They didn't slash him, just made him take his coat off, then smacked him around a bit. His face was bloodied and swollen. One of the lads got his car smashed up, but one of the boys was in a serious condition in hospital. I don't know if our lads were just saying this to save face, but they said there was around 100 county road cutters, and they split into two groups and ambushed them by some alleys. I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure. I've never been back to Everton either. Not through fear. We just haven't had the opportunity. Not since I have been an established member of our crew anyway. I can talk about this defeat without shame. I am not embarrassing anyone. I am one of the most senior members now. All of the lads involved in this incident are not active anymore, and have left this way of life far behind. I will admit our losses, but we did also have victories. We are only a small firm, and back then we were up against some very useful big firms. There was no happy ending here, no fairy tale. We had the bottle to turn up on their patch, we got turned over, simple as that. Sometimes mobs came to ours and got turned over. That's how it went. Everton was hell. They had big numbers and seemed well organised. Seemed to have mastered how to use the local streets and alleys too. Dressers also. Not many firms outside London in that day wore garms. So fair play to Everton, it was very hard for anyone to go there and get a result. It was also difficult for a firm to get off at Lime Street Station and make your way to Goodison Park on foot from there. It's too far and just too many opportunities for them to wait in the shadows and ambush you. I rate Everton. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. If you would like to see more, because I have many more stories to tell, then please like this video and click the subscribe logo in the bottom right of this screen. Thanks again and see you next time. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you subscribe, you will be notified when we release a new video. It could be your firm we make a video about next, so don't miss out and hit the subscribe button. You can find me on Facebook or email me if you have a good story to tell. See you next time.